Today I have a pretty special coin to show you. Not just because it is a gorgeous example of a Greek Tetradrachm, but also because it tells a story. A story about Greece and India, about how two cultures separated by thousands of miles communicated with one another. How the Bactrian Greeks, so far away from their native land, influenced Indian numismatics for centuries, and how this numismatic melange gave rise to some pretty unique coin designs. And before we start, I just want to give a huge thank you to Dean Kinzer, the owner of Kinzer Coins and the Medicus collection, for bringing us this great coin and for once more sponsoring the channel. Make sure to check out his store at kinzercoins.com. He's also on YouTube with a new podcast. It's called The Ancient Coin Hour, where he interviews other numismatists and people in the coin industry. It's great to see more numismatic content creators on YouTube, so please check his channel out. I highly recommend it. I'll leave a link in the video description. Thank you once again for Kinzer Coins for supporting the channel. So to understand what's so special about this piece, we need to have some historical context first. Let's go back to the 3rd and 2nd centuries BC. This is a coin from the kingdom of Bactria. Bactria was a Greek state that succeeded from the Seleucid Empire, which in turn was one of the successor empires that emerged after the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC. This kingdom was located on what is modern-day Pakistan, northwest India and Afghanistan, and it represented the easternmost points of Hellenistic expansion in Asia, the absolute limits of Alexander the Great's conquests. Something very unique happened to the Bactrians. Around the time they became independent, roughly in the 250s BC, to their west, another faction also succeeded from the Seleucids. They were the Parthians. The Parthians embarked on a military campaign against the Seleucids, being super successful and pushing them back to Mesopotamia and the Mediterranean. This left the Bactrians isolated from the rest of the Hellenistic sphere, a Greek enclave with Persians, nomadic tribes, native Indians, and other different peoples as their neighbors. Despite becoming very powerful in the 3rd century BC, by the half of the 2nd century BC, an invasion from a nomadic tribe called the Yuezhi defeated the Bactrians. This is a coin from Bactria's last king, Heliokles, who reigned between 145–130 BC, and that is one piece of a coin. Let's have a closer look at the devices of this Tetradrachm. On the obverse we have the bust of Heliokles looking to the right. He wears on his head a diadem, a symbol of Greek royalty. Notice how this diadem is made out of a long piece of fabric. It's tied to the back of his head with a knot, and we can see like a lot of fabric left falling down his shoulders. As for his clothing, here we have another sign that we are dealing with a Greek king. He wears a chlamys, a kind of cloak, and he wears it over his military cuirass. To help reinforce the three-dimensionality of the obverse, around his portrait we have a filleted border. For the fine style of this portrait, I would guess this coin is from an earlier period in his reign, before the situation with the Yuezhi invasion became too critical. Later Tetradrachm of this king are generally sloppier in style, while this one is in superb Hellenistic style. This coin would have looked perfectly, let's say, at home if it was made like back in Macedon. As for the reverse, we have this very muscular Zeus, the king of the Greek pantheon of gods. He holds on one hand a scepter, although in this case it looks more like a spear, as we can see it has a tip on the floor. He also holds his mighty thunderbolt on his right hand. Great attention to detail on how the god was sculpted. He even wears sandals. Check out his feet. There's sandals there. To his left, we have a little monogram, most likely a control mark for the issue of this coin. The legends are divided into 3 parts. We can read the first one on the right, then the second one on the left, and then finally the last word at the bottom. So it is Basileus Heliokles Dikaios, King Heliokles the Righteous. Despite Heliokles' defeat and the end of the Bactrian state, the coinage introduced by the Greeks enjoyed a lot of prestige in the region for centuries. These UAG tribes that took Bactria were a people that were not very used to coinage, and they started imitating the coin types of Heliokles. They also adopted many Greek ways of governing their state and developing their land, which helped them transition from a nomadic lifestyle to a more settled way of life. Bactria had a natural southern border, the Hindu Kush Mountains. To its south, another Greek nation, which we call the Indo-Greek kingdom, carried on for another 2 centuries after the Bactrian fall. This Hellenistic kingdom, well, it was actually more like a collection of small kingdoms, would only fall in the early 1st century AD, long after all of the other original Hellenistic kingdoms on the Mediterranean had all fallen under Roman control. These Indo-Greeks continued striking coins in Bactrian fashion, but their close ties to the native cultures started transforming their coins. So let's have a look at this little drachma. It's from King Apollodotus II. He reigned between 80 and 65 BC. We don't know precisely where this coin was struck, only that Apollodotus ruled in the region of the Punjab, in the modern day border area, roughly between India and Pakistan. On the obverse, style-wise, this coin is indistinguishable from our Tetradrachm, but in miniature. Apollodotus wears the same royal diadem of a Hellenistic king and the same cloak over his cuirass. The only difference being that now we have the legends here as well in the obverse, of course in Greek, which read Basileus, Sutheros, Kai, Philopatoros, Apollodotos, meaning King Apollodotus, the father-loving savior. The reverse, however, features a major novelty. This is a bilingual coin. The central device is Greek as well. This is Athena Alkidemos, Athena the defender of the people, but the legends around here are a translation of the Greek obverse in the local Indian language called Kharoshthi. It reads, Maharajasa Tratanasa Apaladatasa. The cultural exchange between Greeks and Indians was very significant. Ancient texts claim that the most important Indo-Greek ruler, Menander the Great, converted to Buddhism. The mingling between Greeks and Indians went far beyond coins as well. Some of the very first statues of the Buddha dated from the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, such as the Buddhas of Gandhara, show clear signs of Greek influences on its artistic style, and they could very well be the fruit of an Indo-Greek sculpture. Here's another very interesting coin. This is a piece from the 1st century AD, so it was struck a good 200 years after the very first Bactrian tetradrachma we saw today. By this time, the UAG coalesced into what we know as the Kushan Empire. This is a coin of the first Kushan prince, Kujula Kadphises, who reigned between 30 and 80 AD. Despite it being made out of copper, they still used the Greek names for the denominations, so this is another tetradrachma. Alright, does that obverse look familiar to you? It does for me. It's a Greek design, with Greek legends and everything. This coin imitates the types issued for one of the very last Indo-Greek kings, Hermaios, who ruled in the 80s BC. The bust of the king is, as expected, a little bit crude. The Kushans would later develop their own very interesting coin designs, but for now, earlier in their history, they mostly imitated the more prestigious foreign coins found in circulation around their territory. Still, all of the design features are represented here. We can see the bust of the king looking right, with the royal diadem, and he's wearing the cloak over his shoulders. The legends, in Greek, read Basileus, Sutheros, Hermaios, King Hermaios the Savior. On the reverse, we have the mythological Greek hero, Heliokles. He is shown standing, holding his mighty club, and on his shoulders, he carries the skin of the Nemean lion. Until now, every single thing about this coin is Greek, but then we have the legends in Kharoshthi, and here in these legends, now we have Kujula Kadphises naming himself the leader of the Kushans. It reads Kujula Kasasa, that's his name, Yan Vugasa Dramatihasa. So Kujula, ruler of the Kushans, steadfast keeper of the law. A humble coin, a humble copper coin, but an awesome example of mixed Indian and Greek influences on a coin. Really cool. Indian coinage is a field of numismatics I'm slowly starting to learn. These coins that mix Western Greek designs with local influences are particularly charming in my opinion. Would you like to see more Indian coins on the channel? Have you got an ancient Indian coin? Let me know in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a like and subscribe if you did. Thank you once more Kinzer Coins for sponsoring the channel, and I'll see you soon.